This is a Planet Bass NYC production. So when I first started playing bass, I had a bunch of influences, but it was mostly who was on the radio, who I was listening to with my friends. So when I first started playing, Flea from the Chili Peppers was, I thought, one of the hippest dudes around. And later on, it turns out one of my favorite tunes that they did was actually a meters groove. That happened also once I took a couple bass lessons. I got turned on to Jocko, and one of the tunes that he did on one of the live New York City records was also a meters tune. So that was my initial introduction to the meters. It was essentially secondhand. Then, not too long ago, I'd say maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I was asked to actually play bass in a meters tribute band. So finally I got to, you know, learn a lot of meters tunes, but also a lot of meters tunes most people don't know if they're familiar with the meters. So it was the coolest experience for me because I got to learn all of George Porter's bass lines and the music in general. We played all around New York City. We had a regular gig at Ashford and Simpson Sugar Bar, which was cool. But eventually the drummer moved to Nashville, the band broke up, so the story goes. But I knew I didn't want to stop playing this music because I had learned all of it, and I actually began to fall in love with it. It just spoke to me, so I didn't want to stop playing the music, especially after learning it and liking it so much. So initially I thought, well, maybe I could get some subs on the gig, so I called Oz Noy, who I've worked with a bunch on my previous records. And he was totally into it, but I think maybe a year passed and nothing happened with it. Then I ended up getting a gig with this great singer-songwriter from New York, Russell Hughes. And Anton Fig was playing drums on the gig, so that was my introduction to Anton from that gig. And afterwards we were hanging out and talking, and one of the first things we spoke about was that Zigaboo, the drummer from the Meters, had just come out with a solo record that Anton was loving. So he turned me on to that, and I just saw that he was obviously a Meters fan. So the wheels started turning in my head. Wow, maybe I should do a record. So I asked him, and he seemed into it. So now the problem was I had to figure out, how do I do a Meters record that's different? Because I wanted it to be a tribute to the Meters. I didn't want to change the parts around. And if that's the case, then why wouldn't someone just go buy a Meters record? Which, of course, I'll be the first to say, in my opinion, you should buy a Meters record before you buy this record. Where was I? Yeah. So I wanted to approach it from two angles, basically. Get the best band possible to do this record, which, in my opinion, I did. I'm very lucky and fortunate about that. Then do something different. If you're going to be doing similar parts, first of all, that's something that the people in the band, in my opinion, struggle with, because they think that the guys from the Meters did it the best, which I agree. So if you're not going to change the part, then what's going to happen? Well, what I thought would happen, and I think what did happen, is if you play the part pretty close, maybe 90% sticking to the part, your voice as a musician is still going to come through no matter what. And if you listen to the tracks, when you hear the guitar, you know it's Oz. If you hear the drums, in my opinion, you know it's Anton. So the voice still comes through, but they're still playing those parts. So that part of the record, I thought was the coolest thing. Then, again, how do we make it different? So I wanted to replace Art Neville's keyboard playing with a different instrument. And I thought about all different instruments, accordion, you know, who knows. Anyway, again, time went by and I decided steel drums would be totally cool. So I asked Andy Narell, who currently lives in Paris, and he was totally into it. And that's how pretty much the core band came together. It was all recorded live, me, Anton, and Oz, in one day. Then Andy sent his files over the internet. Then, actually what happened was, the first day we recorded live, it was a 12 or 10-hour day, I think. And we got 11 tunes done, 2 versions of each. And we just decided on which version was the best, and that's the one that we kept. Then Andy did his stuff, but actually on that same day that we recorded live, I did all the vocals. So I was kind of exhausted, but I figured, well, we have the studio time, so let's do a couple more hours and lay down all the vocals, which I did. And when I sing, I always try and get in the head of a singer. So I think to myself, you know, who would be best to sing this song if I had the pick of anyone, if I could get anyone in the studio. It helps me just get in the right mindset in order for me to sing. And I honestly was thinking about Will. I heard his voice in my head, you know, so that got me through my singing part. And I recorded everything, it sounded cool, you know. But after listening to it, I'm like, you know what, let me actually ask Will. And again, as luck would have it, he was into it, and I got lucky, and that's how all the musicians came to fruition on the record.
I got a nickel now. I got a nickel now.